Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Harmoning, President of the Burnsville Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today for our Senate District 56 Candidate Forum. I want to thank our sponsors today, Xcel Energy and Shippers Resource Center, for making this event possible. And I want to thank our moderator, Brady Folkstedt. Brady, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jennifer, and thank you, candidates, for joining us today for this forum. This is the candidate forum for Senate District 56. Joining us today, we have Senator Dan Hall and Lindsay Port. For those of you tuning in, Senate District 56, as it relates to Burnsville, is generally everything south of Highway 13 and to the west of Parkwood Drive, roughly. Kind of coming up into Portland as it goes north and south there. So that is the area that these two candidates are hoping to represent come November 3rd. Again, thank you very much for joining us. A couple of things prior to going live, we did flip a coin to determine who would be answering the first question first. And then as we go, we will rotate who answers each successive question first and then who receives the follow-up. Dan Hall will be kicking us off with the first answer to the first question. Further as we go, I will be the timekeeper as well. You'll note when it's your time to speak, my background will turn green. When you enter into the last 15 seconds of your allotted time, my background will turn yellow. And then at the conclusion of your time to answer the question, my background will turn red. With that, we will get started. First thing is to have each candidate introduce themselves. As we spoke first, Dan Hall will be kicking us off. Dan, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office. Well, looks like we've got a mute.
Thanks. I got to remember to do that every time. Thanks, Brady and Chamber, Jennifer. Thanks for having us. Hello again to Lindsay. We did meet a couple years ago, and it's, of course, a pleasure to be back with you. I've had the privilege of being the senator to Burnsville for the last 10 years, a trust that I've taken real seriously. I've lived in the community for the past 29 years. Growing up in Minneapolis, I went to Roosevelt High School, Augsburg College, and had the privilege of being their first hockey All-American with my older brother, Corky Hall. My beautiful wife, Valerie, and I have been married 46 years and have raised 8 children and 14 grandchildren. Of my 8 children, 2 are lawyers. One's a hairstylist, one's a homemaker with 3 children at home. One's a physician's assistant. Another works for one of our universities. One is finishing her master's in occupational therapy. And my last son and child just graduated from the University of Minnesota, and he is the only one not married. My first job was as a dishwasher for the old Veterans Hospital. I lived not too far from there. During that time, most of my time was spent feeding traumatized veterans returning from Vietnam. I have been a coach for hockey teams. My 8 kids, not all of them played hockey, but most of them, volleyball, soccer, and softball. I've worked as a camp director, a swimming instructor, a church pastor for 30-some years. I was a fast food manager. During high school and college, I worked construction to pay for my college. I was a YMCA director, a school teacher. I've been a principal, a police chaplain for Burnsville Police Department for 19 years, and I've also been the CEO of a nonprofit. During my time in the Senate, I've sat on 6 committees. The Judiciary Committee, which I've been on my whole 10 years, Education, Transportation, the Veterans. Yes. Was it red?
It's red.
It's red now. Anyway, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And with that, Lindsay, if you could introduce yourself and let us know what motivated you to run for office.
Thank you, Brady and Jennifer, and to the Burnsville Chamber for inviting us, and to all of you who are joining us on Facebook Live. I'm Lindsay Port. I'm a mom of 2 young children in the public school system. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit. Our family owns a small business here in Burnsville, and I'm running to be your state senator. I've become increasingly frustrated over the past decade watching small businesses in our community struggle, listening to seniors share their fears about property tax costs and rising prescription drug prices, and seeing our schools have to make cuts every year. I've decided that if our current leaders weren't able to address those issues after holding office for a decade, it was time to step up and fight alongside my neighbors for the policies we deserve. I have a decade of experience organizing and working with voters in our district, and my background of running small businesses while raising a family connects me directly to the issues folks in our community are facing every day. In this moment of tremendous uncertainty, during a global pandemic, social unrest, and a divisive national message, we need leaders here at home that are willing to listen to our entire community and take our voices to St. Paul to fight for policies that help our families. Small businesses need an option to buy into Minnesota Care and a statewide program for paid family leave and earned sick time, so that providing benefits to employees doesn't bankrupt their businesses. Our schools need to be fully funded at the state level so we don't have to continue to raise property taxes in our community to fill the gaps the state doesn't cover. And we must prioritize rebuilding our local economy during this pandemic by investing in small businesses. I'm prepared and ready to take on the tough tasks and fight for the policies that our community deserves. Thanks.
Thank you, Lindsay. The next question, or the first question is, businesses clearly now are facing unprecedented uncertainty due to COVID-19 and the continuing civil unrest. This first question is going to be for Lindsay. Will you support efforts to keep businesses open, and or what financial assistance would you offer to businesses to support them during this time?
COVID-19 has brought incredible uncertainty into every aspect of our lives, and we deserve leaders who take that seriously and don't play partisan politics with our lives while ignoring the guidance of health officials. The single most important thing we can do to get business back to normal is to get the pandemic under control. That's why I support the mask mandate and science-driven guidance put forward by the governor and the Minnesota Department of Health. I certainly wish during the special sessions we've been watching over the last few months that the Senate had done its job to help businesses by proposing realistic solutions, like passing a bonding bill that would have included thousands of good-paying jobs for Minnesotans, instead of using the sessions to fire commissioners. When elected, I commit to working for our community, and I support state-sponsored low-interest loans to small businesses to help them weather this pandemic and get back on their feet. I also support continued increased unemployment for those who have lost their jobs and aren't able to find new work.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Dan, same question to you.
Great. Well, let's start out by saying the government shutdown has been devastating for all of us. Being Americans and living under this flag of freedom, we are all surprised, I think, by the government control that's being put on us, but mostly put on our businesses. I believe we are out of this state of emergency and that our private businesses should be able to make their own decisions and be able to open, whether they open or not. The government is controlling too much of our lives. That is not what America is about. Knowing the huge deficit, in answering your question, our deficit right now is projected at $5 billion coming in 2021. So my best guess of financial assistance will be to not raise taxes on our businesses, nor add any more burdensome regulations, which only cause our products and services to increase pricing. I would love to be able to give low interest loans to help, because we, the government, are responsible for the initial shutdown in, oh boy, that's black, initial shutdown in Minnesota. I will say I voted 4 times to open up Minnesota, because when you're in an emergency, you need the ability to make split-second decisions, and we're not there today. And I did pass the bonding bill in the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. This next question, Dan, you will be leading us off. One of the most critical issues for our community in Burnsville today is the future of Burnsville Center. The city has requested tax increment financing for this area and has been denied by the legislature in each of the last 2 sessions. Will you support the effort this session? And what can you do to garner support to get this passed?
So let me say, first off, it really grieves me to see what's happened to Burnsville Center. Once was a thriving hub of commerce, and now a sad state that it is today. I've worked very hard over the last couple of years to secure our TIF, tax increment financing, to rebuild the center, a tool that we use to develop areas. And I've found resistance on both sides of the aisle from the leadership in the tax committee. Though I believe we had a good chance of passing it the last session, and I'll say because of our mayor, our city council, and their lobbyists, we almost passed it, I believe, if we'd had the chance with COVID shutting things down. It isn't a partisan issue, but we're going to need all hands on deck in 2020 because of that $5 billion projected deficit. In the last week, I've had a chance to talk to our tax chair, and he says he's still open-minded. So yes, I will support to work for Burnsville Center TIF.
Thank you, Dan. Now, Lindsay, same question over to you.
Thanks. I do support the effort for a TIF bill for Burnsville Center. We have a choice between the continued deadlock that's resulted in an empty mall and wasted space in the heart of Burnsville, or a vibrant community center with affordable housing, reinvigorated commerce, and safer streets and paths for cars, bikes, and pedestrians. I've been working closely with Representative Hunter Cantrell, who carried this bill in the House, and we feel strongly that it will be able to pass through the House process, but it failed in the Senate under the current leadership. The passage of this bill will require being able to bring people to the table and work with colleagues in both chambers. If a decade in the Senate didn't give the senator time to build those relationships, maybe some new blood with my already strong partnerships in both the House and the Senate will be able to get it done.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. This next question is going to first go to Lindsay. City of Burnsville has been home to 3 landfills serving the entire state of Minnesota for decades. There's a plan to dig up the 2 closed sites and consolidate them into the one site that is still open. Do you support this dig and move plan? If not, why? And if so, what will you do to help get this plan approved and funded?
Yeah.
Lindsay.
There is no other feasible option, and we're running out of time to fix what will be a catastrophic environmental crisis that will affect the water quality in our communities and across the state. Yes, I support the dig and move plan, and we have partners right here in Burnsville and Kramer Mining that are ready to get to work. We need to stop, again, the decade of gridlock, bringing all the players to the table and get this done. It will likely need to be a combination of public and private dollars, and how we do this will be really important to the potential of that cleaned up site for future use. What we can't afford is another literal decade of our leaders knowing that this is an issue and not being able or willing to fix it. I will be able to use my existing relationships with environmental leaders to make cleaning up this site a priority for state dollars. Then I'll work with the local leaders who've been dedicated to this project for years, along with the business community, to make sure that we're able to develop and make the area a hub for commerce.
Very good, thank you. And now over to Dan, same question.
Hey, for added understanding of our viewers, I want to say that the freeway landfill is on the west side of 35 down by the river. And then we're talking about the second one, which is the old Burnsville dump on the east side of 35 underneath the golf range. Both are closed, but because of new science, we have found that there's possible future hazards in the drinking water. And I say possible because, there's conjecture on that. The waste management, otherwise known as the Burnsville landfill site, which is behind Menards, is safe. And if we take and dig up the 2 sites near the freeway, we can put all of it into one. I am in favor of that, and it will solve 2 things. It will help with our drinking water problem, and it will help new development gain future revenue for our taxpayers in Burnsville and Dakota County. our major holdup in that, as I understand it, is the MPCA, which wants to make a big mound. And so, Lindsay, if you get in or if you don't, I'd sure appreciate your help in changing the MPCA's mind on that.
Thank you both. Fourth question here. Safety has been a top concern for businesses across the state and here in Burnsville as well. Where do you stand on defunding the police? And this will first go to Dan.
Great, I appreciate it. First, let me make the distinction that our cities in our district here are not defunding police. Savage, Lakeville, and Burnsville leadership know better. If there are any chances of defunding, I will always be in favor of increasing funding for our peacemakers. I believe too often our inner city politicians have not allowed their police to stop the bad actors from breaking our laws. So then our bad actors think they can get away with doing more bad acting. And pretty soon we have bad actors disrupting peaceful protests. And then you have rioting, vandalism, and killings. And even though the rioting is in Minneapolis, St. Paul, it does affect us out here in the suburbs. And it does that by our police having to be ready for mutual support. And at times like the last one where we had to shut down Walmart and Target and have police standing outside there. Thus, the state may have to, if Minneapolis and St. Paul politicians can't stop the lawlessness, the state may have to intervene. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. And now the same question goes over to Lindsay.
Thanks. I have always prioritized community safety, and I would like to take a moment to denounce the lies that are being spread about my stance on this issue by the GOP. There is no legislative call to defund the police, nor is that a proposal in our community. In fact, when residents of Minneapolis call for defunding the police, much of what they're asking for is to be policed like we are here in the suburbs. I strongly believe in continued increased investments in the programs that have been shown to make our community safer and are supported by the police, like closing the background check loophole, drug treatment and mental health resources, counselors in our schools, youth engagement programs, and affordable housing. I support common sense reforms for policing, like increased de-escalation training for officers, because studies show us that's the best way to protect the lives of officers and our community members. I expect the police in our community to be accountable and transparent to us, just like any taxpayer-funded organization, and I resent the implication that I and Democrats in general don't support our officers or take the safety of our community seriously.
Thank you. And thank you both as we've moved our way through those 4 questions to stay on time. That we've been doing well so far. I know it's extremely difficult. Last, we will be going over to Lindsay. This is going to be the closing remarks, and you have 1 minute to tell us why you are the best candidate to represent our area.
Our district has changed over the last decade, and we need leadership that is aware and connected to the people of our district, not just to their own special interest projects. In order to be a thriving community for businesses and families, we must be respectful of all people in our district, not just those who think like us. We must be open and welcoming to communities of color and LGBTQ people. We must take real action on climate change because it's affecting our community and businesses, whether you want to admit it or not. We can be a leader in innovation and build vibrant commerce centers, but only if we can work together. I'm committed to working with the residents of our district to ensure the future that we deserve. I'm Lindsay Port, and I'd like to partner with you. You can learn more at lindsayportmn.com. And again, Brady and Jennifer, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Lindsay. And now we'll go, Dan, please let us know why you'll be the best candidate to represent our area. Oh, I think we have a mute issue, Dan.
Thanks again to the Chamber and Jennifer and Brady. 2 thoughts I would like people to contemplate before they vote. First, in 2021, the budget will be close to the largest in Minnesota history at $5 billion. The question is going to be, who do you want to balance that budget? The Democrats, known for raising taxes and increased spending, or the Republicans, known for tightening their belt and cutting taxes? In my first term in 2011, we came into it with a $5 billion deficit. We had some hard decisions to make, but we balanced the budget without increasing taxes. My second thought, we are living in a violent world. Today, we need experienced legislators who can listen, make wise decisions, and keep Minnesotans safe. Safety is my first priority, and we cannot have public safety without law and order. You can count on me to protect the public and uphold law and order.
Excellent. Again, thank you, Dan. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Dan, for joining us today. Again, for those tuning in, this is the forum for Senate District 56. Lindsay Port for the DFL and Dan Hall for the GOP. Please remember to submit to them any other issues you come up with between now and November 3rd. November 3rd is Election Day 2020, or get your absentee ballot and vote early this year. Thank you both again for coming. And thank you everyone for tuning in and watching us on Facebook today.
Nice to see you again.
Brady.
Bye now.
Thanks, Brady. Thanks to our candidates. Thanks to our sponsors for making this event possible. And thanks to all of you for joining us. We will be posting the recording on our YouTube page for future viewing. And we will be back here at 5 o'clock for our Burnsville Mayoral Candidate Forum. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you, Jennifer.